On a grey, rain-washed morning in downtown Portland. The kind of morning when people rushed without. Looking up and the world felt too busy to notice a lonely soul. A young woman named Claire sat quietly in a bustling cafe, her trembling hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, unaware that the next 30 seconds of her life were about to change everything in the most unexpected way. And right at that moment, a tired, soaked, slightly rugged man stepped through the cafe door, his hoodie pulled low, jeans worn, backpack old, the kind of man people glanced at but didn't really look into, and yet behind that modest, almost struggling appearance lived a truth no one could guess. He was Ethan Walker, a 37-year-old, silent millionaire and a devoted single dad who hid his wealth, intentionally to protect his little daughter from the world's greed. And as he stood there searching for a seat in that impossibly crowded cafe, every table rejected him with subtle gestures, cold eyes or polite lies, until Claire, heart already bruised from her own loneliness, looked up, her eyes soft and kind, and whispered gently, "You can sit here if you want. You look like you need a place." A sentence so simple yet so powerful that Ethan felt something tighten in his chest, for it had been years since anyone had offered him kindness without expecting something back. He took the chair slowly, unsure whether to thank her once or 1,000 times. And as he sat down, the moment quietly shifted, almost as if fate exhaled, because Claire didn't know that her soft invitation had touched a man who lived every day in silence, raising his little daughter Lily all alone, grieving a wife he had lost 3 years ago, juggling his private companies from the shadows so the world wouldn't force its expectations on him. And yet she still looked at him like he mattered, not like a project, not like a mystery, but like a human being. And within the first 20 seconds of their meeting, an invisible thread formed, one woven out of humanity and compassion rather than wealth or status. Ethan noticed the way Claire tried to smile even though it looked like her heart wasn't fully in it. And she noticed the way his tired eyes softened when he spoke about simple things like the weather and the warmth of the cafe. And for him, these tiny, ordinary moments carried the weight of a miracle, because he'd spent so long pretending to be invisible that he had forgotten how it felt when someone actually saw him. Their conversation bloomed slowly, gently, like a lantern being lit in the dark. Two strangers sharing small truths, her telling him she was looking for a fresh start after losing her job last week, him saying he worked here and there without explaining anything else. And yet, despite the simplicity of their words, a quiet emotional spark kept pulling them closer. And when Claire laughed softly at one of his dry, disguised jokes, Ethan felt a warmth he hadn't felt since before his wife passed. A feeling he thought he'd never feel again. But the emotional moment arrived when the cafe door burst open and little 5-year-old Lily ran inside, dripping rainwater, her tiny voice calling "Daddy." And Claire froze, not because Ethan was a father, but because the little girl's eyes sparkled with love and innocence, and the way Ethan immediately dropped to his knees and wrapped Lily in his arms revealed the real man behind the disguise, the kind of father who carried the world on his shoulders, yet made sure his daughter never felt its weight. And Claire's heart softened fully as she watched him tuck Lily's hair gently behind her ear and whisper that everything was okay. And only then did Ethan realize he could trust this woman enough to let his disguise slip just a little. When Lily insisted on sitting with them, Claire offered her cookie with a smile so warm that Ethan felt a lump rise in his throat, for kindness like this could never be bought, never be earned, only given freely. And in that moment he finally told Claire the truth. Not all of it, but enough, that he wasn't struggling, he wasn't lost, he wasn't drifting. He was simply a father who wanted his daughter to grow up around people who valued hearts, not bank accounts. Claire didn't gasp, didn't stare, didn't treat him differently. She simply nodded, as if she had suspected all along that there was something deeper about him. And that quiet acceptance meant more to Ethan than any applause or admiration ever could. The cafe grew noisier. People rushed in and out, Chairs scraped, dishes clattered. But at their small table by the window, time felt still, suspended between three lonely souls who had unexpectedly found a moment of belonging. And as the rain eased outside and sunlight slipped through the clouds, Ethan asked Claire if she would join them for lunch sometime, not as a millionaire, not as a man in disguise, but as a father and a friend, seeking a reason to smile again. And Claire, with eyes warmer than before, whispered, "I'd like that." And for the first time in years, Ethan felt a new beginning forming quietly in the corners of his life. When they finally stood up to leave, Lily hugged Claire tightly. And that gentle hug sealed everything: trust, hope, healing. And as the cafe door closed behind them, Claire didn't know where this journey would lead. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She had offered a seat to a stranger, and fate had seated her next to a beautiful future.